Hello, everyone, and welcome to Uncivil Law, where we learn through the misfortunes of others. As always, I hope you enjoy this legal education content, and today's the day I earned that subscription. For today's story, we are dealing with a bill that was just passed by the U.S. House of Representatives that would delist Puerto Rico as being a territory. Puerto Rico has been a territory of the United States for quite some time now, and this relationship has been a little bit awkward at best. Will they or won't they? Well, the U.S. House of Representatives has voted to force Puerto Rico to make a choice and recently passed a bill to kick them out of territory status. It's like become a state or become a country, but you can't stay here anymore. So we're going to read this bill passed by the United States House of Congress. Let's see this. Okay, for those of you who want to follow along at home or want more details, this is H.R. 8393 that will enable the people of Puerto Rico to choose a permanent, non-territorial, full self-governing political status for Puerto Rico and to transition. So if you want to look up the details in all of its glory, H.R. 8393 is your bill, just passed the U.S. House. Let's read a little bit more about the details. So this bill proposes that in recognition of inherent limitations of Puerto Rico's territorial status and responsibility for the federal government to enable the people of the territory to freely express their wishes regarding political status and to achieve government, Congress seeks to enable eligible voters of Puerto Rico to choose a permanent, non-territorial, full self-governing political status for Puerto Rico and to provide a transition. The proposal suggests a ballot that would be sent to the voters as per a normal election, one would say. And this ballot will propose three options to the people of Puerto Rico. So we will cover the language that would be on this ballot, which will cover the three possibilities. Possibility number one, how about independence? How about you're just a different country now? So that is an option. If you agree, mark here. This would mean that Puerto Rico is a sovereign nation that has full authority and responsibility over its territory and population under a constitution of its own adoption, which shall be the supreme law of that nation. Puerto Rico is therefore vested with full powers and responsibilities, consistent with rights and responsibilities that devolve upon a sovereign nation under international law, including its own fiscal and monetary policy, immigration, trade, and conduct in its own name and rights of relations with other nations and international organizations. Puerto Rico would have full authority and responsibility over citizenship and immigration laws, and birth in Puerto Rico or relationship to persons with statutory United States citizenship by birth in the former territory shall cease to be a basis for United States nationality or citizenship, except that persons who have United States citizenship have a right to retain that citizenship as an element of federal law. So this would be forward-looking. Anyone who would be born who is not a citizen of the United States, who was just born in Puerto Rico, would no longer be a citizen of the United States. So forward-looking, anyone not born to a U.S. citizen, which is basically everyone that exists now, but if they immigrate people, those people wouldn't be U.S. citizens, and so they would start to have a population of people that would not be United States citizens on their panel. So they have a lot of dual citizenship people, but everyone who's a citizen gets to keep it. Okay? Puerto Rico will no longer be a possession for purposes of the Internal Revenue Code. In general, United States citizens and United States businesses in Puerto Rico will be subject to United States federal tax. As citizens of the United States living abroad, we're one of the very, very few countries in the world that taxes citizens living abroad, and will continue doing that. And to Puerto Rican laws, Puerto Rico's status as an independent sovereign nation will be a controlling factor in the taxation of Puerto Rico taxpayers. And of course, as an independent country, the Constitution and laws of the United States no longer apply in Puerto Rico, and the United States sovereignty in Puerto Rico is therefore ended. So option number one, you just become another country like any other country. Okay, how about option number two? Sovereignty with benefits. Sovereignty with benefits. Sovereignty, but free association with the United States. So if you agree to this, this is what this means. Puerto Rico is a sovereign nation that has full authority and responsibility over its territory and population under a constitution with its own adoption that shall be the supreme law of the nation. Puerto Rico is vested with full powers and responsibilities consistent with rights and responsibilities that devolve upon a sovereign nation under international law, including its own physical and monetary policy, immigration, trade, and conduct in its own name and right of relations with other nations and international organizations, except as provided for in Articles of Free Association to be negotiated between Puerto Rico and the United States. Puerto Rico has full authority and responsibility over citizenship and immigration, and persons who have United States citizenship have a right to retain that citizenship for life. Birth in Puerto Rico shall cease to be a basis for U.S. nationality or citizenship. Individuals born in Puerto Rico to at least one person who is a citizen shall be a citizen at birth, consistent with immigration law, for the duration of the first agreement with the Articles of Free Association. Puerto Rico enters into Articles of Free Association with the United States with such devolution and reservation of governmental functions and others of bilateral agreements as may be agreed by parties under the Articles, which shall be terminable at will by either party or Puerto Rico at any time. Puerto Rico will no longer be a possession of the United States for the purposes of the Internal Revenue Code, but we can continue to tax United States citizens and United States businesses, and the Constitution of the United States no longer applies, except as otherwise provided for in the Articles of Free Association. All matters pertaining to the governmental relationships between Puerto Rico and the United States shall be provided for by the Articles of Free Association. Okay, so option number 2 is you become a free country, but with benefits under Articles of Free Association. There are currently 3 sovereign countries that have this relationship with the United States: the Republic of the Marshall Islands, Palau, and the Federated States of Micronesia. So basically, by law, any of those people can come to the United States and work here like they had a green card. And also, incidentally, vice versa. So if you're currently a United States citizen and you're looking to live overseas and you would like to live somewhere, but you don't have to want to go through all the pesky work of having to get a visa and do all that stuff, Micronesia might be for you, because you can just go there. You can just go there and just start living there like you had a green card. I don't know what they call it in Micronesia, but you know the idea, right? You can live there and you can do anything and you can work and everything. You just can't vote in Micronesia. So this would be the relationship, right? Basically, it means that, yeah, you can continue, you're sovereign and you're independent and you're a real country, but you're a real country with benefits. Namely, you can come here and work here, and we can come there and work there, and we have this nice little mixed relationship. So option number 2, the free association thing. But of course, it is terminable. It is terminable. So it only extends for a period of time, and then it has to be renegotiated. So at some point in the future, you could terminate it, and then you just be a fully independent country again. So that's option 2, the free association thing. You get to be like Micronesia. How fun. Option number 3, statehood. Puerto Rico is admitted into the Union on equal footing with other states in all respects whatsoever, and part of the permanent Union of the United States, subject to the United States Constitution, with powers not prohibited by the state Constitution to the states and reserved to Puerto Rico where it's resident. So you just get to be a state like any other state. You just get to be a state. The residents of Puerto Rico are fully self-governing with their rights secured under the United States Constitution, which shall be fully applicable in Puerto Rico, and with laws and treaties of the United States is the supreme law and has the same force and effect as any other state. The United States citizenship of those born in Puerto Rico is recognized, protected, and secured in the United States Constitution the same way as any other state. Puerto Rico will no longer be a possession of the United States. Instead, it will just be a state. Okay, so these are 3 options that are presented to them. And then they have this runoff system. So Congress, in its proposal, says you must get a majority. You must get more than a majority, but you have 3 options. So what happens if you don't have any of those 3? Well, Congress came up with a solution. They call it a plebiscite, which I've never heard that term before. You'd call it a runoff election, but Congress called it a plebiscite. So in the event that none of those 3 options gain a majority, whatever's least popular drops off the ballot and you do the election again. So this is the proposal from the United States Congress, that they be forced out of their territorial status and become either a full fat country with benefits, or a state. So this proposal has passed the US House. Of course, it is extremely unlikely to pass the US Senate, although it's possible, because the Democrats do have majority and they could always waive the filibuster. So, who knows? But, it's possible, but not with the filibuster in place. But that is the proposal, that the shit or get off the pot solution that Puerto Rico's been in is territorial status end. It's like you can leave or you can stay, but you can't do this halfway thing anymore because it's kind of a little bit irritating. So that is the proposal from the US House. So interesting. because obviously that impacts several million United States citizens who live in Puerto Rico. So, will this become the law of the land? Well, Joe Biden has expressed support for it, and it's passed the U.S. House, and we'll see whether or not it passes the United States Senate with overcoming the filibuster. But that is the proposal on the table. And at least for a moment, that brings us to the end of discussion of this story.